Hello everyone. I work for a large multinational company and I've been working from home for the past 5 to 6 years, ever since the pandemic. And I was reflecting on this latest announcement that came from the Prime Minister of India.
साथियों, हमने कोरोना के समय में वर्क फ्रॉम होम की, ऑनलाइन मीटिंग्स की, वीडियो कॉन्फ्रेंस की, ऐसी अनेक व्यवस्थाएं विकसित की और हमें आदत भी हो गई थी। आज समय की मांग ऐसी है कि उन व्यवस्थाओं को हम फिर से शुरू करें।
The situation in the Middle East is pretty dire and it hasn't really changed yet as we enter the middle of 2026. So his appeal was pretty straightforward, touching upon 4 things. 1, he asked Indians to avoid purchasing gold for a year. And the second is avoid non-essential overseas travel. And the third was work from home. And the fourth was to use public transport and EVs. Now, a lot of these are very pointed, logical observations, and it absolutely makes sense. The work from home is something I'm passionate about, and this topic really intrigued me. And of course, after this news came out, there were conflicting opinions across social media. And just today, the newspaper says, IT firms may not opt for full remote working. Let me start by talking about my experience. Before I started working from home, I was working for a company in ITPL, which is in the East Bangalore. It is about 22 kilometers from where I stay in the Hebbal area in North Bangalore. And this 22 kilometers, it would take me about 1.5 to 2 hours every day to commute. So I tried different kinds of modes of transportation. I used company cabs a few times. I used Ola, Uber, public transit. I would take an auto to the main bus stand where I would take the Vajra bus, the AC bus from Hebbal direct to ITPL. So door to door, the commute, including the auto ride to the bus stand, walk into ITPL, would be anywhere from 1.5 to 2 hours every day. For me, it was a productivity drain. I would put on an audiobook, listen to podcasts, or even get on calls during these long bus rides. But I was not very productive. And then came the work from home directive during the pandemic. And almost all of us in IT took to it like duck to water. It was pretty seamless, getting on Zoom calls, the meetings. My day was pretty efficient because I had set up a home office pretty quickly. My day would start pretty early. The calls and meetings with colleagues in Japan, in Southeast Asia, and Australia, New Zealand go on till midday. When it would taper off, I would catch up with errands at home and relax for a bit. And then late in the evening, again pick up with the meetings with colleagues in Europe and the Americas. So this cycle would go on 5 days a week. And there were thousands of people like me who really took to it. A couple of years after the pandemic, things started shifting. RTO became the new corporate mantra. The companies wanted people to return back to offices. The arguments were many. Managers wanted command and control. They wanted people sitting in front of them, working in the offices. And maybe they wanted people to be able to brainstorm, say at the chai point nearby or the water coolers. Absolutely makes sense. The managers are used to MBWA, managing by wandering around. And the argument was there are fewer distractions, especially for the younger folks. And of course, some techies also claimed that they felt lonely working remotely, working from home, because they had personal commitments, distractions. So coming to office, they would set aside everything and come to office. For them, it made sense. Lastly but not least, it was the real estate mafia. The real estate sector that really called for the RTO, because there were millions of square feet of office space that had been invested in, committed, built, but not occupied. And if it's not occupied, they are not making money, the rentals. Just today, there was a blog talking about real estate sector tanking by 2 to 3%. So you can imagine the scale of the operations that depend on offices being filled. Of course, there's a whole ecosystem that supports these offices, starting from the security guards, safai walas, the chai wala, that keeps the tech parks buzzing and running. But all this comes at an enormous cost. So what's the trade-off? Companies are saying maybe the hybrid model works. Come to office 2-3 days a week and work from home 2 to 3 days a week. Now to me, for people like me, it's the worst of both worlds. You're not conserving fuel, you're not conserving energy, you're distracting yourself. And for people like me who work in global companies, the productivity gained by going to an office, sitting, spending say 2 hours commuting each way, spending all this energy and fuel is counterproductive. I'm sure there's a balance there, and the leaders, the IT leaders and the real estate sector is scratching their heads over this. But the knee-jerk reaction saying we will not follow this is going to be questionable. Now, are we really, is the pendulum going to swing to the other extreme, saying back to the work from home model that we saw during the pandemic days? Perhaps not.